Recording started. It's Friday, September 24th, week 4. We're going to do patterns. Patterns, Pantone colors. I'm going to discuss project 2 to you, get you started on that. I'm going to discuss how to finish project 1. I'll do some in-class work. And I'm taking questions. If you your project 1 is due tonight before midnight. If you have trouble or you run into a snag, please do not wait till Monday. I need you to upload whatever you have, even if everything got deleted. Upload something with your name on it. And before class, you should have uploaded your PDF from last week's in-class work, the tank top. I'm going to start. If everybody can hear me, let's share the screen. Going into the course content area, lab section, let's look at the projects. So project 1, we have one PDF with 4 artboards, your flats, and I'll show you how to finish that today. Project 2, let me show you some examples of what I want project 2 to look like. It's going to be croquis. So you're going to be using the same flats from your first project, the same title and theme. And let me show you a couple of different examples. This croquis was drawn with Illustrator. They drew the eyes, they drew the face separate from the body. Whoa. No, can't do that. I gotta. Drew the face separate from the body, but this was all, as you can see, pen tool lines here. They drew some shapes here, and they reduced the opacity to make it look like shading. I'll show you how to do that next week. They put some fold lines in to show like creases where fabric is, how the fabric is draping or laying on the body, and shoes. Okay, and there's a background picture here too. So they were able to cut out the spaces here between the arms and the body to show the background picture. And then on the second artboard, you have the reference photos that the student used to trace the faces separate. And I'll show you why you have to trace the faces separate than the bodies, because once you do your image trace, sometimes you lose a lot of detail. And I have some more examples. Now this one was, these croquis were hand-drawn, and you have that option to draw your croquis wearing the clothing that you had from project 1. And if you hand draw it, you could just image trace it. It turns your drawing instantly into vector drawings. It drops all the anchors. But the line is what we call a nuanced line. It has like thick and thin. It's kind of slubby in the line. It's not as clean as an Illustrator line, but it is still a vector drawing, so you can scale it up and down. Oh, the student, I never noticed this. They cut out those areas to show the skin. Good job. And then included the reference. So since the student didn't use a photograph, used their pencil and then inked drawing for their croquis, that's what they included on their second artboard. And you can see what we want here, the description. This is in the lab folder under projects for project 2. So we can even get started on that. We could go to Illustrator, go to New here, and as usual, usually we go to Print here, but sometimes when I give this instruction and students go to this Print tab, you'll notice the units change from inches to points, and then we have students that have like an 11 by 17 pixel wide drawing, and 11 by 14 pixel wide drawing, which is like about the size of the head of a pin, and that's a problem. And then when they try to save it, it gives them an error message and it says it's out of bounds, or they can't be saved. So at that point, you just have to make a new file here. Just make sure your units here are on inches. and then change this back to 11 by 14. You know, I used to be able to hit the backspace button to do this. It didn't update, and I can't anymore. I have to backspace individual characters. And I used to be able to select this and just go, you know what, just start typing. Can't do that anymore. I have to project 2. So I should explore that. It's probably a setting. Hondi project 2. We want to have at least 2 artboards, if not 3. I'm going to just put this on 2. You can choose your orientation, portrait or landscape. I'll put mine on landscape here. And then CMYK color 300 DPI. Yep. All right. So here we have my 2 artboards here. And what we're going to do for next week, oh wait, so I have it saved with my name on it. So for next week, you need to have a file saved. And if you can draw, if you have any drawing skill, I need you to draw your croquis wearing your clothing from Project 1. Pay attention to how the fabric is laying on the body. You can use a tracing table if you want, or hold a piece of paper up to a computer monitor. And if you see somebody wearing something for that kind of drawing inspiration, you're welcome to trace that. But I do need to have your photographs of your drawings on your artboard here. If you are going to trace a photograph, like here, then then you need to have your photographs on your artboard, your 2 close-ups and your 2 models. And to find your photographs here, you just go to Google. We don't need to worry about copyright because we're tracing these. We're going to make some new artwork from these images. So I clicked on the image tab here. I'm going to click on tools. I'm going to go to size, and I'm going to say large here. And swimwear, catwalk, you'll see lots of great photographs that you can just copy and paste, right-click copy, and paste that into your artboard. You need at least 2 walking, if not more. You can get more if you want to have choices. You can also put swimwear lingerie, but I'm not going to type that in because I don't want to get fired. But you know, the less clothing, the better for your models. So you'll have more freedom to draw your fabric in. So I'll just grab two models here. Make sure you have like great shading, like a dark area and a light area, so we can use this as a reference for our shading if you want to add shading. Ooh, this picture's huge. Zoom out. So this black square is our selected artboard. So sometimes, you know, you'll be doing your artwork and you'll see a tiny little square in the middle. You're like, what the heck's that? What's going on is your artboard is super tiny. Either your picture is gigantic or your artboard is done in pixels. If you're not sure, you can check your artboard size by going into File and Document Setup. And then if you click on Edit Artboards, it'll show you your units here, 11 by 14 inches. So I'm good. To get out of this mode, I'm going to click on my selection key, and it goes back. I'm going to take this photo, I'm going to shrink it down to a useful size here. And then I need some close-up pictures. So to get a close-up picture, you're just going to type in here glamour close-up, and you'll get a lot of great faces. You know, choose a face that you don't mind staring at for a few hours while you're tracing it, if you are going this route. So sometimes you can grab the picture, right-click, copy image. Sometimes you can't. That's still quite large. Look at that. I hope I'm in inches here. All right, so there's one face. Let's get another face. Cropping her head there. So sometimes the models will have their hands covering their neck, or they'll be in weird angles. We want to try to get as straight on a picture without any appendages blocking their neck, so we can do some good tracing. Her top of her head's cut off here, so I'm looking for a better picture. Oh, these her hands are there. I'm having trouble. So there's another hand there. You can also put in somebody's name, like so you wanted Kerry Washington. You can grab hair and neck structure. You can grab any body structure you want from any model and put them all together. That's the beauty. And then today's exercise, I'm going to show you some methods on. I'm going to show you the image tracing method if you draw it. Next week, I'll show you how to trace it. The videos for how to trace it that were done by Mrs. Benitez, I'll post those on Sunday morning. But at least have these pictures ready by next week. Okay. Let's see, what else are we talking about? So I'll guide you through today's in-class work, then I'll guide you through our homework, and then I'll guide you on how to finish the project and upload it, and then we'll be done. So if you go to our lab folder Spark presentations here, you can see this week's Spark presentation has a few useful links down here. We've got the WGSN link. There's a LinkedIn Learning as well as Adobe Creative Cloud. They both have tutorials available that are free if you use your Kent credentials, and you can look up some professionals and their little video lessons on how to make flats or how to use the pen tool, etc. And you guys know how to use YouTube. All you got to do is type in Illustrator CC and then recolor or pen tool, and you'll see lots of great lessons. Here's some propaganda here from Adobe. I'm not going to play videos usually. I think you can do that yourself. If you want to see a student using the Adobe suite to make from concept to manufacture, you can watch that video. Our first in-class assignment, we're going to do several activities. One of them is going to be taking a photograph and finding our color group from it and finding the Pantone color codes. Then I'll show you how to do a live paint and live trace. I'll show you how to add color groups and how to create a colorway from your color group. And then I'll show you how to make your patterns. Right? If you have a question, you just got to yell out because I can't see while I'm doing all this. So the homework that we have to, the folder that we get for this week is in our lab folder. It's like classwork 4 pattern files download link. If you click on this, you'll get a zip file. If you have a PC, you should extract those files somewhere where you can find it. If you have a Mac, you can just pull them out separately. And then in there, you'll see our homework file where we're going to create a pattern, as well as our in-class work. The homework file, when you're done with it, will look like, do I have it up here? Will look like this. I have some patterns uploaded. So there are 5 pages, and what's going to happen is you're going to go to WGSN and you're going to grab up to 10 pictures. You're going to grab as many pictures as you need to get 10 motifs. We're going to mount those pictures here on our reference page here. Then we're going to use our pen tool, and we're going to copy a motif out of the photograph. Now you'll see in this photograph here, there are several motifs, and if you can get 4 motifs out of one picture, that's like 3 less pictures you need to have. In that case, you only need 7 pictures. But I do need to see the pictures numbered here so we can see where you got your motifs. And you can see a little snake right here in this motif. So this student used the pen tool and traced a snake as inspiration. It doesn't have to be perfect or exact. You can just use it as a springboard for your own idea, for your own motif. And for this homework, if you want to look for motifs that match your Project 1 theme, like if your theme was floral harmony or something, you can find all kinds of floral patterns. And then when you do your pattern work, your homework, you can take these patterns and add it to your Project 1, and you kind of kill two birds with one stone. You can use the same patterns for this homework on your project. You can't use the patterns that we do for the in-class assignment for your Project 1. It should be from this homework one only. But you don't have to do it that way. If you want to make fresh patterns by yourself, you're welcome to do that in any way you want, as long as you're using the pen tool and a reference photo. Right? You can go out and take your own pictures of something and make your own, and fill this with your own pictures if you like. I mean, for your project. For this homework, we're doing WGSN. All right, so let me show you, let me walk you through all of that work then, if you're all ready. All right, so I'm going to go and download this file. I've already downloaded it and extracted it. It will look like, let's see, where'd I put it? You know what? I could just do it again. So here's the week 4 pattern files, right? So if I double click on that, I have a PC, of course. So your extraction program is probably just Windows based. Up here, you'll see an extract all button. You click on that. I don't have an extract all, I just have extract 2. And then you're going to navigate to your Fashion Tech folder. So mine's in my document folder in my, here's Intro to Fashion Tech folder. And then I have an AI folder, and I can extract it right there. Just say OK. And I have patterns, Pantone in class, and print repeats. So let's take a look in my folder here. And I have patterns, Pantone in class. That's this one. Right? And that's what we're going to do first. So I asked you to grab a photograph that you have that you want to get your Project 1 color from. So I'm going to use this. We're all going to use this C1 right here, and we're going to demonstrate how to find 5 colors from here. So I'm going to do this by turning this picture into a mosaic of color swatches. So we're going to divide it into swatches, and then, like finger painting, we're going to just smudge all the colors together in that swatch area. And then we'll get kind of like an average color for however many tiles we select. So for example, the first thing you want to do is grab your selection tool and click on your object here, so you get all your properties up here. If you're doing this in the future with a different photograph and you see a red or blue X over your photograph, look for the button that says embed, E-M-B-E-D. And if you click on that, that will take that X away, because that will embed the photo. Otherwise, the photo is not actually there. It's in a different location. It's a little technical. I'm not going to explain that. All right. So I've taken my selection tool. I've clicked on the photo. I see no X's, so I'm good. I'm going to create a mosaic here. Object, create object mosaic. If this option is grayed out, that means you didn't select your photo first. So I'm going to create an object mosaic, and here's my number of tiles option right here. Right now it's on 10 by 10. So let's say I want to get like this lavender here, or this purple, and I want to get like a lime green. So if I were to do like, say, 2 tiles by 2 tiles, that's only 2 times 2 is 4. That would divide this picture into 4 sections, and it would take each section and blend all the color together. Let's see what that looks like. It looks awful. I'm definitely not getting 5 colors out of this. I only have four swatches. So I'm going to hit undo, and then I'm going to try it again, and we'll add some more swatches. So if I put like 10 by 10, and I want to get like this green, this pink, there's 15 different ways to do this. I'm just showing you one way. If you watched a video and you saw a different way to do it, that's great. If it works for you, that's fantastic. This is just how I'm showing it. I hit OK. I got it into like 10 squares by 10 squares, 100 squares. I do have a little green. I'm not seeing that red that I wanted to see. So maybe I need more squares. Object, create object mosaic. Let's try 15 by 15. See if I can get that pinkish. So there, I got that pink. So now I've got like 15 by 15. This is like, I don't know what, 125 math squares. So here, I'm gonna use my selection tool and I'll move this mosaic down. And for your project one, you know, when you want, ooh, I've already done it. Let me undo all this. Project one, file, open. Do I have one that's not done? No, I, I saved it. Let's see. File, all right, here's one. So this is what you should have done today. You should have like your flats done, top, bottom. I know these are all dresses, but imagine with me if you have your tops over here, your bottoms and your one pieces. This should actually be probably resized to make it smaller because you need like the front and back. And I forgot to demonstrate that when I was doing this last week. Let's reflect this grouping here, put it backwards, and then we can move it. Make sure your garments are not like touching the artboard or touching the color story or touching the title here. Give a little bit of space. Use your space well. Just make sure everything is kind of symmetrical or evenly spaced. You know, you can make them like in a line if you want, if you don't want to get fancy with the arrangement. Just don't make it like all in one corner and have a big white space down here. And don't make it kind of like just haphazardly laid out. You know, it should have some kind of order. And this is where you should be right now. And I asked you for a color photo reference. So like if you had a, so let me show you how to do that first with the in-class work. So here's my in-class work, and then there's a few things we got to do when we open an Illustrator file. Windows, Workspace, Reset Essentials Classic. View, we're going to make sure it says hide edges here. If it says show edges, go ahead and click on that. And then I'm going to, right now it's called Patterns Pantone in class. I'm going to save this in my Fashion Tech AI folder. We'll call this one, I mean, you can leave Pantone there. You could even leave patterns there. You just put your last name in front of it. All right. Hit OK. And there now it says my last name, Patterns Pantone, right? Those are those three things. So I took the photograph, I clicked it, I said 15 by 15 tiles to get my colors here. Now I need to choose 5 colors and put them in these squares. So I'm going to open my swatch panel. It's way over here. It looks like a dirty ice cube tray. And I'm going to pull this swatch out right here. And I am going to create a folder filled with 5 colors from this picture. But since I have like 115 times 15, which is what, 125 swatches, I'm going to first of all click it with my selection tool so that they're all highlighted. Then I'm going to click on this folder right here. And it says, do you want to do it from selected swatches or selected artwork? And you know, I'm not going to ungroup this. I'm just going to say selected artwork. And here's my 125 colors. And I need to pick 5 here. So to pick 5, I'm going to deselect, because right now this is all selected. If I pick a color, it's going to change my mosaic to that color. So I need to deselect this group here. I'm going to click on empty space so it's not selected. And I'm going to click 5 colors, but you see when you click each tile, the other tile turns off. So to make it stick, I'm going to click a tile and then I'm going to hold my control key because I have a PC. It's command key if you have a Mac. And now you can add stuff to it. So I'm going to click 5 colors, this kind of brown, this green, this purple, and where was that red? Here's a green. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's actually pick this brown, and then this one seems a little bit.
Excuse me, Professor Hahn.
Yep.
I'm just following along, and I have the 15 by 15 tiles on the like color swatches, but I'm a little lost on exactly how to get like all the colors to the right so I can save them. How do I
Okay.
like get that, like what you have?
All right. So once you hit the mosaic and you have all these squares, and you click it with your selection tool so it's highlighted, you just go and click on this new color group folder button, and it'll transport all of these over here.
Okay,
Now,
thank you so much.
when you're done with that, you want to deselect an empty space here so that this mosaic is no longer selected. And then we're going to go through and select 5 colors here. So I'm holding my control key down, it's command key if you have a Mac. And I'm getting like 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't choose a black or a white. I'm sorry. If you like black and white, I know there's always like a bunch of students that do. Well, you can do black and white, when you're doing your own stuff as a senior. But right now, I just need you to show me, how to get different kinds of colors here. So once I have 5 colors selected, I'm going to click on this folder again, and I can name it like C, and then here's my 5 colors. Now what I want to do, I can take this folder here and I can delete it. I don't need that anymore. It's taking up space. Now when I hover my cursor over these colors, I see the recipe of red, green, and blue, like the differing amounts of red, green, and blue to create these web colors here. But I want to create, I want to get the Pantone colors that I'm going to use for my designs. And Pantone is a company that has standardized and defined color around the world. So, if you're having your pants constructed in one country and then on the other side of the planet, a different part of the pants being constructed, you want to make sure the colors are exactly the same. So we use this Pantone color library. And I'm going to show you how to find these Pantone codes here. It's a 7-step process, and you have to do it usually twice. There was one class I had to do it 5 times for some reason. It doesn't always work, but let me show you how to do it. 7 steps. First step, click on the folder that contains your colors. Second step, click on the color wheel that appears after you click on the folder. Third step, click on this swatch icon. It looks like a dirty ice cube tray. Fourth step, go to color books. Fifth step, choose a Pantone color book. I'm going to choose CMYK coded. And these are all different shades of the same color, different definitions. Depending on if you're like if it's shiny, glossy or not, or I'm going to go with the first one here, CMYK coded. Then we'll hit OK. Do you want to save changes? Yes. And usually, if you see that save changes, then it worked. Yesterday, it wasn't working at all. So you're going to check to see if all the Pantone codes are here. If only 3 of them came through and 2 didn't, then you should do the same thing again. Folder, color wheel, ice cube tray, color books, Pantone CMYK coded, hit OK, hit save. And then now I have 3 groups, right? I don't need this third one, but it is nice to have 2 groups of color because I can quickly change my colorway. So let me just rearrange the order of these swatches here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So these 2 folders have exactly the same color. They're just in a different order. And I'll show you how to use this as my colorway, a quick way to change the color in your patterns in about 15 minutes. But right now, I'm going to check in here. I see I have my Pantone codes. So I'm going to go and click on this first square. I'm going to click on the border because I don't know if it has a fill or not. Yeah, it has a fill. But it's a good habit. Just click on the border here. Click on the first color. Boom. Border. Second color. Boom. Border. Third color. Border. Fourth color. Border. Fifth color. And that's how you fill color from your color story. And to find the Pantone code, so now I hover my mouse over this first color. It's P3912C. So I'll go to P39-12C. And then for this next color, it's 164.16C. So P164-16C. And that's all we're doing. It's not that, oops. I put down a text box by accident. All right. Just trying to move this over. Okay, so this light blue is 119.5C. So 119-5-C. For you observant students, different ways to get to this text. You can either click on the text tool and then click here, but if you click in the wrong place, you'll create a new text box, which you'll have to delete. Otherwise, you can, if you get it right, it's 102.5C. Oops. Oh my God, I keep hitting the Windows key. 102-5C. Last one is 97.14C. 97-4. So your color codes, of course, will be different from mine. So I don't want to see the color codes I just wrote down on your homework. Don't just copy me. You got to find the Pantone codes of your color story. All right. So for practice here, if I were to open my project 1 here, and I want to find my color story here, I need my photograph. And if you haven't gotten your photograph yet, you're going to find a photo that has at least 5 colors. So let's say I love sunsets, or my theme was like Caribbean, it was like desert horizon or something. So I want to find a picture that has at least 5 colors. Like if you have a monochromatic sunset like this, you're not going to find 5 colors. So something like this, I definitely see 5 colors there. We'll copy that. And I'm going to paste this picture. And, I'm just going to turn this into a mosaic. So make sure it's selected first. Then we go Object, Create Object Mosaic. And I don't think I need 15. I can just do 10 by 10. Yep.
That's the picture that I used on my project 1. Do you want me to change it since we're going over it in class?
The C picture?
No, this picture that you just uploaded, I used the same one for my project 1.
Okay, that's fine if you want.
Okay.
Make sure your theme, doesn't say underwater adventure or something. All right.
No, I'm talking about the sunset that you just uploaded.
Yeah, I mean the theme for your project. So,
yeah.
It should be kind of,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, this is kind of like a sunset palette. It's not exactly a ocean palette, so, you know what I'm saying? Just make sure the colors match your theme. All right, so here I have my swatch panel, and it's kind of open here. So I'm going to click on this mosaic and then go to my folder here, and then click on New Color Group. We'll call this one. There's all my colors, and I need 5 colors here. So I'm going to grab like an orange. Oops, this is still selected. Let's deselect that. All right, orange. Hold my Control key down. Command key if you have a Mac. There's a peach color. There's a kind of yellowish. There's a deep purple. And okay, here's my 5 colors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hit the new folder again. We'll call this sunset. I mean, it's the same title. I'm going to delete this one. I should have named that one. All right, then I'm going to delete this folder here. So here are my 5 colors, and I needed to find the Pantone codes for that. So again, the 7-step process. First, click on the folder. Second, click on the color wheel. Third, click on the swatch panel. Fourth, color books. Fifth, Pantone CMYK coded. 6, hit OK. 7, save changes, say yes. 8, check. It's working today. Tuesday, it wasn't working at all. All right. So here I have 2 folders with exactly the same swatches. I'm going to take this folder here, and I'm going to move these swatches around. Just change the order. So these two have exactly the same colors. This one's called Sunset. This one's called change the name of that one to Pantone Sun. All right, now I have 3. Okay, Pant Sun. All right, I'll go ahead and delete that one. So now I have 2. All right, there we go. Now I want to go to my color story on my project 1, and I'm just going to fill it with my colors. So first square, first color, second square, second color, third square, third color, etc., etc. So now you see this dark colored swatch with my dark colored text. I can't read it. If I can't read your text, it's going to be 1 point off for each item I can't read. So make sure that the text color here is in contrast with the background color so I can see it. Right now, this font is almost illegible because I don't know if you can see, I have the outline of the letter as yellow and I have no fill. I'm going to reverse that. I'm going to say the fill should be yellow. Let me select it first. I think the fill should be yellow and the outline should be non-existent. And then I can suddenly read it. You see how that works? For the titles, I don't care if that's in the color story or not. Just make sure it's in contrast so that I can read the color. For a red too, I would probably do the same thing. Let's make that. Give that a fill and remove the outline, right? And then, of course, you're going to give it a much more interesting name. Don't say red, green, blue. You're going to find a creative title that matches your theme or season. If you want to get all these to line up here, you can grab your guide here. If you don't know how to make a guide, you just make your rulers visible as Command R for ruler or Control R, and you'll see a ruler here. And if you click up in the ruler and drag down, you can drag down a guide. And if I put that guide there, I can, your text should kind of snap to the guide when you're drawing stuff. So each, we'll make that.
Mr. Han?
Yep.
Should our bottom 2 boxes be connected like yours are?
You can have a little space. Just make sure it's consistent.
Thank you.
So like, yeah. No, I can't read that. Let's see. All right. You know what? I'm going to put actually these up here. Let's put another guide. We'll make these bigger because this is our hold the shift key when you resize that. That's too big. All right, we'll just make the color swatches nice and visible. Hold the shift key down when you do that. I totally forgot about the Pantone codes. So for this one here, for the Pantone code, it's a 488-C. So, P48-8-C. And you can put this here or you can put it underneath it. It's up to you. Just make sure it's like it doesn't have to be really big or anything. You can put that there, or you can actually put it on there. But change the color so I can read it. Oops. You can match the color. It's up to you, however you want to do that. So this peach color is P5513-C. So P55-13-C. And you know, probably it would be, instead of manually resizing this, I should probably find a number here, so I'm consistent, you know, when I do this. And et cetera, et cetera. So you'll have like, let's just pretend I'm doing this. This one I can't even see. All right. That one I should make a lighter color. I've got all these lines. Where are they coming from? It's because I did this so many times already. I didn't clean up my work. All right. Let's choose a different color that I can read. Make sure it's visible, you know. And then you have your Pantone codes down here. Again, make sure I can read them. And don't use the same numbers like I just did. So I can read this one definitely. We'll make that one white-ish. This one I can't read very well either. We'll make that one, you know, just make it so I can read it. And all right, so let's go back over to our homework here, our in-class work. Before we get to patterns, let me give you a little head start on whoops, what is that? All right, on something called the live paint bucket and image trace. So if you're going to draw your croquis, after you sketch it with pencil, and I do recommend, this would probably be the easiest way to do it, is to just draw your clothing already on a croquis, and then take a very, very fine Sharpie and ink your drawing. This is an example of that. Some people want to just draw it with their pen tool, trace a photograph, and then draw your clothing on it later with the pen tool. And I'll show you how to do these two different styles of taking a pencil drawing and turning it into a vector image, or taking like a vector drawing and then turning it into a live paint. Let me show you the two examples. So the whole point of this is you can take anything that you've drawn in the past, any kind of doodle that you have in the margin or from an old journal, like a logo or some kind of artwork, and you can bring in the photograph and turn it into vector lines. So if you just do pencil sketches like this one, so this is like a pencil sketch, right? It's not been inked. The lines aren't always closed. Let's see what that looks like when we turn this into a vector line object. To do that, first of all, selection tool, click on your image first. Second, you're going to hit this image trace button. And after image trace, a lot of my lines disappeared because it wasn't inked. It was a little bit too light. So I can adjust the sensitivity of this line detection. That's called your threshold, and that is located right here. After you hit the image trace button, this little square will appear. This is called the image trace panel. It only appears after you hit image trace. So I'll click on that, and it shows me here, potentially I have 3,460 separate little anchor points so far, right? If I adjust the threshold here to make my lines darker, you know, try to close my shapes, I still see some openings here in the arm. I'm going to go a little bit darker here. You see what happens with the pencil lines is, I mean, it's kind of interesting to look at, but if you wanted something cleaner, like these lines, you're not going to get it with just a raw pencil with nothing, with no pen lines here. So, and we're almost at 7,000 anchor points here, right? To see the anchor points, go ahead and hit the expand button. That lays down all the anchors. If you want to actually see the anchors, you can grab your direct selection tool, and you can see right there. all the anchors that went into this drawing, right? And then what we have now, I'm clicking my selection tool again, is now we have a vector. We've transformed that pencil sketch into vector lines. So if we zoom in on this, these lines will always stay crisp and clear and straight, which is nice, right? So you can get this kind of pencil look with Illustrator, just you're going to sacrifice the thickness of your lines here. So if I want to give this some color, I can turn this into something called a live paint object. This you can only do this after you hit the expand button. The expand button is very important. And then once you hit the expand button, it looks like this. Now we can go to Object, Live Paint, Make. And then you'll see the transformation handles will turn into these little broken ice cube squares. That means it's a live paint object. The live paint bucket is located under this tool here called the Shape Builder tool. It's like, I don't know, 8 or 9 things down. If you click and hold this tool, you will see the live paint bucket. Or you could just hit the letter K on your keyboard for live paint bucket. I guess they got the K from bucket, right? So if I click on my bucket here, you'll start seeing different regions that will highlight, telling you where you can add color. So I'm going to open my swatch panel here. Workspace, Reset, Essentials Classic. Here's my swatch panel. Now if you look on my swatch panel, I have black, red, yellow, green. If I click on the yellow swatch here, you'll see red on the left and green on the right. If I look at my paint bucket, I have yellow in the middle, green on the right, and red on the left, just like in my swatch panel. If I take my arrow keys and hit to the right, I can cycle through light blue. If I hit the arrow key to the right, it'll go to dark blue. And you see on my paint bucket, it's automatically following my swatch selection. So you have a little keyboard shortcut on color selection. Now, if I were to like fill her clothing here with this red, you see I have some issues here because it's not being very precise. It's bleeding over into the arm. I'm getting some on the neck. So this isn't always the best ideal because you have to draw some boundaries here. So that's not what I want for, I don't want a red arm, although it's kind of interesting. Let's see. So and here's the flesh color. So live paint, it separates every single compartmentalized shape into something that's fillable, but then you have a lot of these little shapes down here in the knee area. I do want you to fill all these in as well. Be careful, if you click on the black line, your black lines will disappear. But if that happens, no worries, just click on the black color, and then you can click on that line again, and that line will reappear, right? If you don't like this skin tone selection, in the library button right down here, we've got all kinds of color libraries. There is one called Skin Tones, and you have much more choices of skin color, right? So, and you see it's kind of tedious. It's not quite working in all places. Now, look what's happening right here in the hand. The hand is quite open. I can't even add color, can I? If I add color, it fills in the whole square, right? So I'm going to undo that. Let me show you how to fix the hand here. So you can see the lines are kind of broken. So you can use your pen tool. Just make sure you're drawing with black ink. And if you don't like the pen tool, if you have a stylus or something, you can use your pencil tool, which is under this shaper tool. It looks like a broken lollipop that fell on the ground. Oh, boo-hoo. There's a pencil tool here. Make sure you're drawing with black ink. Make sure you don't have a fill color here. And if you feel comfortable, you could probably, that line's a little thick. Let's make it a little thinner. I'm at 0.5 here. And I'm going to close the shapes. There's my pinky finger. Okay, so there's my shapes. Now if I grab my paint bucket tool, can I fill these in now? Nope, it's still spilling out into everywhere. So that means that this live paint object is not connected to those new lines that I drew. So to connect them, we have to do something called live paint merging. I'm going to grab my selection tool and I'm going to drag it around this whole piece of artwork again, including all the new lines that I drew. And I'm going to do that same thing, object live paint make or merge. I'm going to do make because, you know, guaranteed to work. Now when I zoom in here and I grab my paint bucket tool and I grab my skin color, I can fill those in without a problem. And I do want you to do that. All right, for more practice here, let me show you. So now, if you do trace your croquis with the clothing on and you ink it, right? Let me show you how easy it is to give this color. So I'm going to, first of all, click on the picture. Then I'm going to go to image trace. Then I'm seeing some open spaces here. So I'm going to click on my image trace panel. And I'm going to start moving the slider over until I get good solid lines. And the student was smart, left her faces blank so she could draw her faces, trace the photograph, and just copy and paste the face in there, which is what she did. And now these are not anchors yet. I have to hit the expand button, expand, right? Now it's all anchors. And now I can go object live paint make. And once I do that, I'll see grab my selection tool and click on my thing here. I'll see little broken ice cubes, right? Now I know that's a live paint object. So let me grab my paint bucket tool and I can start, you know, adding some color. To the drawing here, right? We can add some skin color. And it becomes much cleaner, and you could probably finish this whole thing. So at a bare minimum, this is what I'm looking for. Next week, I will talk to you about shading, and I'll show you how to do some shading. But for right now, if you just wanted to add some simple color, you could cheat the whole shading thing by adding like gradients. And let me show you how to do that in a second here. So you're just going to fill in, you know, these colors. So I don't want to see any white space on your. I don't want to see any white space on your drawings here. So let me show you how to do some gradients here. Another option for fills, you have little gradients over here. If I choose, like, say, this black and white gradient and I click on her skirt, you'll see it's like a black and white gradient. If I want to change the color gradients, I can go and click on this gradient tool right here, this gradient properties. This will show you my gradient slider, and you have different kinds of gradients. It also has a library here of so many different kinds. Here, oh wait, down here there's gradients. There's tons of gradients here. But I'm going to start with black and white, and if I want to change one of the colors, I just click on the gradient slider here, and you can change your gradient, how dark it is or how light it is. You can also change the color here. So if I don't want it black, let's say I want it like red to white, then I change that, and now if I click over here, it's red to white. If I want to make it more red on one side than white, you know, I can do that. Or if I want to make it more white than red, you know, I could do that. If I wanted to add a third color and, you know, throw some orange in there, you could do that, right? And that kind of shows a little bit of volume, a little bit of space. Once you have this swatch here that you've created, you can click and drag this out and put it into your swatch panel. So you don't have to fiddle with this in the future next time if you're going to add a little bit of color. You can do the same with the flesh color here. So I could, if you want to pull this circle off, you can just yank it off. Here, let's say if I went like with a flesh color, and let's say more fleshy. Let's go a little darker here. All right, I could take this swatch and I can drag it over here so I don't have to mess with it anymore. And if I grab my paint bucket tool and I grab this flesh color, you know, you can fill bodies with that color. And then if you wanted to change the gradient, like let's say it kind of doesn't looks like she's wearing white hose or something, you can go to this gradient tool right here and you can change the gradient, but you have to select this object, this little fill area. You can grab your direct select tool and click on any individual area, then click on this gradient tool, and you can like, if you click within the space, you can make your gradient go from this end to this end of this color to that end. But if you want to make it wider, you could start the gradient from out here and click and drag over here, and then now the gradient goes from out here to here. And you can change the angles too if you wanted to go down to up or up to down, maybe if you wanted to get kind of have it look like she has some shading under her skirt. You know, you can goof around with that if you want. You want to try to add some volume. Anyway, you see I'm almost done here. The only issue with, yeah, I'm almost done here. Let me go back and I'll show you. I'll show you some more techniques. So this last one here is the same thing, but again, I have an open space right down here. So here's an inked croquis. Click it, hit image trace, hit the image trace panel, move the slider up, right? I have 1,188 anchors. Hit the expand button. And then we'll go object live paint make. And then I can grab my paint bucket and let me grab that flesh color. And I could even do like a, whoops, whole thing was selected. I'm going to make sure I'm deselected so that when I click on any individual area, you know, we'll go darker arm for the background here. And then right down here, if I click on a color, you see what happens? It fills in that whole area. So I have to do that whole exercise again where I grab either my pen. I can use my pen tool. You could also, here's another way you can do this. For some reason, I don't know, students have trouble with this, but you can use your direct select tool. And I imagine it's like the confusion between direct select and selection tool. Remember, the white triangle moves anchors. The black triangle moves shapes, right? So if I grab the white triangle and then go and I find like an endpoint anchor, you can hover over that. Click on that one anchor. You can just drag that anchor down until it overlaps another line here. And then you grab your paint bucket tool and fill it. That's a very fast, easy way to do it. But I don't know, I have students that have difficulty with that. So the other way to do it is to take your pen tool or your pencil tool. Make sure you're drawing with a black ink. And there, you see I'm not drawing with any ink, so I'm gonna grab my selection tool, click on that line, make sure it's black here. Ooh, I selected everything. Let me go backwards one. Selection tool. All right, make sure that's black. Oh, I missed it. Now I'm double lining everything. Hold on a second. pencil tool, make sure you're drawing with black ink. What am I doing wrong? Black ink. Okay, make sure nothing is selected first. Nothing is selected. Then I'm going to go black ink and no fill. So I had my drawing selected earlier, which was the problem, I believe. Expertly drawn foot right there. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. So what happened was she was walking and she snagged her hose on a cat toy, and then she had a little floppy foot. All right, so if I were to add the color, the flesh color here, it's still not coloring in. Oh, it's still splitting out into this open space. So I need to merge this. And again, selection tool, grab everything, go object, live, paint, make. And then I can fill that foot there with the appropriate color. Oops. Paint bucket tool. All right, there it is. Now, here, let me show you something. So when you draw your croquis, sometimes people want to put like a photograph behind their picture. And you see in Illustrator, this is another reason why students hate illustrators, because they can't figure out how to get rid of this white background, right? This is just a rectangle shape. So you just grab your white triangle, this direct selection tool, and you click on that anchor there, you hit delete, and it deletes that shape, right? And you can click on this line right here and delete that line and this line here. If your whole object disappears, just click on empty space out here first, and then click on a space like that. You can hit delete. So now I want to see this picture behind her arm, but it looks like she has some kind of arm webbing going on here. So I'm going to grab my paint bucket tool, and over here I'm just going to choose no color. And if I fill that with no color, it kind of cuts it out, right? So you can see the picture behind it. And that's how you do that. Right? And that same thing goes with over here with this picture here. If I were to drag that pattern, grab my white triangle and get rid of these corners here. You don't have to do this right now. I'm just showing this to you in case you're wondering what happened. And then paint bucket tool, grab no fill, and then you go between the legs here. Boom, between the arms. Boom, between the arms. Boom, between the arm. Boom. Now you have a completely cut out figure. And the next week I'll show you how to add some layer effects to that. So some of you are thinking right now, this live paint bucket works amazing. Why can't I just use it for my flats? My flats, I'm having all these weird white triangles show up and I'm having trouble. So if you remember, the very, very first exercise we did for our flats was, we locked down the image and then we just did like one dedicated layer to this outline. Once you have that, you can fill it and put it behind your flat, change the color of your flat, no big deal. If you turn this into a live paint object, oftentimes you'll lose specialty lines, like you'll lose stitch lines, or you'll lose fold lines, or lines just start to look a little strange. So let's take a look at how that looks here. If I click on this object here and I go object, it's already a vector. This is already a vector drawing that was done with the pen tool. So I don't need to image trace it. I just need to turn it into a live paint object. So selection tool, click on the flat, and then you go object, live paint, make. Right, you see how my line gets all kind of screwy and you lose some of your stitch detail? It happens. So the best thing to do if you're going to use live paint, and you can use live paint on your flats, is make sure all of your detail layers, all of your darts, all of your stitches, all of your interior fills, all of this is grouped together on a separate layer from your silhouette layer. And then you can live paint your silhouette layer and then fill that with your paint bucket and then turn all your detail layers back on to give it color. And we did that exercise last week about turning off the silhouette layer and grouping your detail layer. I made videos on that last week if you'd don't know what I'm talking about, go rewatch that video. But here, now I have the paint bucket tool. This is a live paint object now, it's showing me. So you see how the interior fill line, you can't see it on the flat, but this line is here. And then when I turn it into live paint, those lines are still visible. They're still paint lines. So if I were to try to do this here, I got this big white space. You got to click like that. So for this flat, I just want you to give me a different color for each panel. You know, show me you know how to use show me you know how to use the live paint bucket. That's all I'm asking. So we'll just make it multicolored. And once you have that filled with different colors, you're done. That's it. All right. I made a mess here. You know, you could just put a rectangle behind these too if you don't want to put, whoops, put a fill in there. And let me push this to the back. Arrange, send to the back. So if you wanted to kind of see if your spaces were cut out, you can put like a background color. If you wanted, at this point, I'm not asking you to do that, but it's an option. Send to the back. And later I'll show you how to go over here to the effects panel and go and you know, stylize and put some drop shadow on there. You could do something like that later. We'll do that next week. All right, patterns. Let's go to patterns here. Let me show you how to make the colorway. So once you have 2 patterns here, and this pattern I drew with like 3 lines, right? This very expensive pattern. All it is let me see, I'm going to isolate this one red line. This line was just a straight line at 50% opacity, right? And I copied it 3 times. Boom, boom, boom. This line here was a black line. Let me isolate it. At 14 point, black line, 50% opacity. I copy and pasted it like 6 more times. And then I made 2 rectangles, 2 tan rectangles, and that's it. Not hard at all. So if I wanted to make a different color scheme, you just click it, and when you click it, the color wheel shows up here. You click on that, and the easiest way to recolor a second pattern is just to drag this thing here and move it, and then you're done, right? But if you wanted to make these colors line up with colors from your color story, you go to advanced options here, and you will see your little color stories here. And these are the same 2 color stories, they're just arranged in different orders. And now watch this, if I click on this thing here, I got that color. If I want a different color, I can click on this one, and the orders change. You can go in here and you can move these colors around to individual colors if you want to do some experimentation with that. Or you could just isolate any one of these layers and then, you know, change the color manually to whatever color you want. Okay? But all I need is different colors. You just click this, go to your color wheel, and just drag it. You know, if you wanted to change one specific color, you could unlock this color wheel and you can grab that swatch and you can move it. You know, I want that lion to be green or whatever. You can change it. So just make sure these patterns are a different color. Now let me show you how to make a block, a half drop, and a hex pattern. So these are just some sample shapes. So this pattern right here, why does it, oops, some of you may recognize it, some of you may not. I don't know. Is this an expensive pattern? For some reason it is. Look at this LV right here. This LV is New Times Roman. I mean, whoever designed this didn't even go down past the default font for New Times Roman. I think, I don't mean to poo-poo on whoever designed this, but I think what happened was it was like, Giuseppe, you finished the pattern. It's like, oh yes, I finished it last night. And he runs home and he's like, oh God. And he just goes through it and he makes like, you know, New Times Roman, okay, LV, and then he just, you know, got his pen tool out and, you know, did one shape here, copy and pasted that a bunch of times, did a circle, 4 more circles and a 5th circle, another circle, and then he's done. I'm done. I made my pattern. Great. You know, and then if I were to drag a box around this whole pattern here, I'm not going to do that. Let's make our own. So let's make a block pattern. You just grab a square here, and you can choose any color from your color story, right? Where's my swatch panel? So you're going to choose a color from your color story, and then you're going to drag, like, you're going to copy and paste. Don't drag. Copy and paste 3 motifs here. So I'm going to, oops, selection tool. Let's copy 1 over here. Oops, it's on the bottom. 2, 3. Okay, let's put this square underneath it, range center to the back. I'll move these over here. Let's make this more appropriately sized here, and you can move these around. You can change them into different colors if you want. I just lost some color there. Let me see. Anyway, let's look at our new pattern. So I have a background color and I have 3 elements here. Copy and paste it. So I'm going to turn this into a pattern here. So I'm going to grab my selection tool and I'm going to grab everything here. Now let's pretend if I just clicked right here and said object pattern make. Now this is incorrect, but let me show you what happens. It says, hey, we added a new swatch panel. It looks just like the color blue right here. Hit OK. This is a preview of my pattern. It's all blue. I screwed up, right? So let's see. I'm going to hit cancel. What happened was I only had the background selected when I made my pattern. So I'm going to take my selection tool, drag a little capture box over all 4 of these elements. And now I'm going to go to Object Pattern Make. And it says we added a new pattern to your swatch panel. There it is. Hit OK. We'll call this one Dave. Right, there's my pattern here. And this drop down here is like block. Grid is called block because everything is just to the left and to the right. And we have brick by row, and we also have brick by column, which is our half drop. And then the hex one I'll show you later, but we just need the grid for right now, right? And I'm going to hit done. And this, of course, is not the pattern. This is what I use to make the pattern. My pattern is over here in my swatch panel now. So now I can just grab this group of swatches and I'm going to shrink it down to like a little swatch size. This is my reference. Now I'm going to put some words here. We'll call this one block. Hold my shift key down to make that symmetrical. And I'm going to make a big square right here. Boom. And then I'm going to fill it with my pattern. Boom. And I need to see this motif area repeating at least 3 times. 1, 2, 3. That's good. Let's say my pattern looked like this. Let's say I had it much bigger. Usually people make it much bigger. Whoops. Size tiled art. Okay, so a lot of times we make our pattern, it'll look something like this. It's too big. And I need to see this grouping repeat 3 times. This is up to 5 points off if you don't do this part correctly. So in order to get this scaled down, all you have to do is take your selection tool and click on the object that has your fill, right? And that will show you which pattern you use. Because sometimes we'll have like 50 patterns over here. We don't know which one this is. That's the pattern. It has a little white box around it. So if I double click it, it'll open my pattern editor. And if I this is what everything looks like. You have a little blue box here. This is your area of repeat. Everything inside this box is going to repeat as a pattern. Everything out here is just preview. You can click out here and nothing happens, right? If you click inside the blue box and you move it around, your whole pattern will shift and adjust on the fly. So you can make your adjustments. You can change your color choices if you want, you know, to on the fly. It'll show you. So we want to grab everything here, and we want to shrink it down. So I'm going to hold my shift key down and I'm going to shrink it. Now what you'll see here is now we have this big white grid, because between our group of objects that's shrunken down and this blue area of repeat, we have this white space. To get rid of that white space, I'm going to go over here to click size tile to art. And that'll make this blue box just whatever my art size is. So click on that and it got rid. Now my blue box here will change. If I change my background color to this size, the blue box will change because it's sizing my tile to my artwork. Now, also what happens is if your artwork kind of goes over your background color, you can create a little white grid situation here, which doesn't look good, right? So if that happens, you can either do one of two things. You can turn off size tile to art, click on the background and move the background up and past your artwork. Or you could just, if you don't want to touch anything, you can just move your artwork back onto your inside the boundary of your background color. And that will also get rid of your grid line. If you do end up, some of you will end up with like something that looks like this. And you're like, why is there a black grid line? It's because your outline, your background shape has a black outline. So for a lot of you, we'll go through this process. You'll see the black outline. You'll be like, oh, I got to get rid of that. So you click on your background color. And you click on no color. And suddenly you have this white grid. And you're like, how do I get rid of that? You can either size tile to art, but if you don't want to do that, if you want to make sure that grid goes away, you can just grab your background color and you can edge it out past the blue border here. And that guaranteed will get rid of that white grid. All right, hit done. When you're done, you have your pattern, your block pattern. Now let me show you this this Fendi pattern here. Look how difficult this one is to make. I'm going to take my pen tool, make sure I'm drawing with black ink here, and no fill. Now to draw at a 45-degree angle, I just have to hold my shift key down. And you know how when you draw with your pen tool, you hold the shift key down, it goes either straight line this way or 45 degrees or 90 degrees, right? So I'm going to click right here, hold my shift key down, it's 45, boom, 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 boom. Everything's 45 degrees. Look how easy this is to make. How much does stuff with this pattern cost? A lot of money, I think, right? So here's one F, and if I copy and paste it, there's a second F. I can rotate it, hold my shift key down, 45-degree angles. There we go. Let's group these two together. Object group. Let's copy and paste this out. All right. Let's copy and paste this one out too. All right, let's make our half drop. All right, so we got our halves.
So is that how we would make our patterns for project 1?
Yeah. Okay, so let me switch over to project 1 and show you. So for project 1, to make our pattern, let me show you our homework here. So this homework we have, you're going to find, and for project 1, you could just draw something yourself, but it's always nice to have a photo reference for your motifs here. And I got these from WGSN because that's the homework here, WGSN. And if you want to purposely research patterns that will fit into your project 1 and then use the patterns you draw here for your project 1, you're welcome to do that. So let me show you. I'm going to go to WGSN here. So I'm at my Spark presentation, and there is a WGSN button right here. Takes me to my library database, and this is the portal that allows us to go into this very expensive website. And I'm going to now go look at the WGSN patterns, and that's under Research and Create. You go to Prints and Graphics here, and then we have like lots of fashion forecasting, what's going to be popular next year with regards to patterns. And you see lots of examples here. So if I were to grab a picture here, let's see if I can copy it. I can't copy the picture. Can I copy it here? It's not letting me copy the picture, it's protecting it. So I could just take a screenshot of this. Since I'm just going to be using these motifs here, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go Alt Print Screen. If you have a PC, it's Alt Print Screen. Unless you have blue function buttons, then it might be FN Print Screen. For a Mac, it's Command Shift 4, and then you just draw a little square around what you want to screenshot. But on a PC, if you hit Alt Print Screen, it takes this whole screen here. I go back to my homework here, and I hit Paste, Control V, Paste. Here's my whole desktop. I only want this pattern here, so I'm going to go up here. It says Crop Image. And once I have that Crop Image option selected, I can go in and crop this image. Hit Apply, and there's my photo. I'm going to resize this. And we need like 10 photos, or, like in an example like this, if you can grab more than one motif out of here and you like those motifs, you can use less pictures. I just need to have it as many pictures as it takes to get 10 motifs, right? And we'll label these. So to get a motif here, I'll grab this picture. I will maybe reduce the opacity a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. Then I'm going to go to my layer panel here, find out where this photograph is, and I'll lock it down. And I'll grab my pen tool, and I can draw some shapes, do some tracing here. P for pen tool, make sure I'm drawing with black ink. It always defaults like that. I wish I could lock it. All right, so there's one shape. It doesn't have to be perfect, of course. You can use it like as inspiration. I didn't want to overlap these lines because I didn't want to delete my old anchors. So I'm going to use my direct select tool, and I will close this shape here. All right, so I have one shape right there. And you're welcome to take this. Oops. I'm going to group these together. Object group. You can give it a fill color if you want, or you can change the nuance of the line here. I'm going to cut that out and go put this onto my motif page here. You can even make this bigger. Hold the shift key down. And you're going to get like 10 motifs, right? And once you have your motifs here, for your block pattern, right? So hopefully you have your color story. And I'll choose a color, background color, and I'll take 3 motifs. I'm going to copy and paste it off of here so I don't remove it. Copy and paste again. And then I'll take these and I'll move these, bring to the front here so that I can set them on top of my pattern. And again, if you wanted to add some color, it's your own pattern. You can do whatever you want to it.
How many motifs do we need in the patterns?
3 to be safe. You could probably get away with 1 or 2. Just don't give me polka dots. I don't want to have somebody make one circle and make a block pattern of a circle and be real clever, like, oh, I made polka dots. No, don't do polka dots. Don't make one stripe. If you're going to do stripes, do like a Burberry type thing. Doesn't have to be too complicated, you know. So here's my patterns here. Let's bring that one to the front. All right. Now I'm going to take this shape here, and we'll make this a pattern. I'm going to grab all these, and I'm going to say, let me show you an example. So a lot of times we draw them big, like there's nothing wrong with that. You draw your pattern motifs big. You grab all this and say object, pattern, make, and it says we've added this pattern to your swatch panel. Okay, we'll call this one Fallberry 1, right? Here's my preview. Hit done. I'm going to grab all these here, hold my shift key down, right? Take my text tool and go block. Hold my shift key, make that symmetrical. Now I'm going to grab a big rectangle and I'm going to fill it with my pattern here. And it's way too big. I have several problems. I've got a grid line visible. It's way too big. I have to scale it down. So I'm going to double click on my pattern editor. Here's the blue area of repeat. I'm going to take my selection tool and I'm going to drag it over all my objects. And I'm going to hold my shift key down and I'm going to shrink it down. Now, to tighten this up, I'll hit size tile to art. We'll hit done. And now we have our pattern with definitely more than 3 visible repeating motifs in either direction. Right? I do have a grid line visible, which I do not want, so I need to go back into my editor and click on my background color and then remove that outline. Right? And since I have size tile to art on, let me show you what happens. If size tile to art was not on and I remove my background color, you're going to get this white grid line, right? And nobody wants that. So let's go and fix that. To fix that, we do size tile to art. Either size tile to art. If that doesn't work, you can turn size tile to art off and then take your background color and just kind of edge it out a little bit past the blue line. This is with the size tile to art off. All right, so once you have your pattern done, right, you can take your selection tool, click on this whole square, and we'll hit copy. Right, edit copy or Control C or Command C. Then I'm going to go to my project and we'll paste that square. We'll go copy, and I'll go to my project and hit paste. And here's my square. And once you paste the square in, that pattern comes into your swatch panel right here. See, it's called Fallberry 1. So once I have that, I can delete this square. And let's go in and fill, we can fill our dress now. I'm going to isolate this background layer. Come on. Oh, I did it already. So here's my pattern. So group, triple click, dress outline. There we go. And there's my patterns. And then, oh, I need to make my dress colors here from my color story. Oops. Triple click. Come on, give it to me. All right. So then you have your black and white, your 2 colors, your pattern. Let's put our pattern right here. We'll fill that with our pattern. But so I did it on the dress first because sometimes some people like to have the larger motif visible on the pattern. But here on the swatch, you can't see. I need to see these motifs repeating 3 times. It's way too large. So now I'm going to double click here, open this up, and we will scale this down, way down. Hit size tile to art. Hit done. Oh, it changed it over here. Let me make this a little bit bigger. All right, so when you see like a size like this and you like it, you might want to make a copy of it. So now we have like one pattern here called fallberry, one's called dressberry. They're the same pattern, they're just different sizes. So I'm going to fill my dresses here. Let's see if I can isolate. I'm going to fill it with my dressberry pattern. That way when I change the scale of my swatch, this one won't change here. Let's do that dressberry too. So now I need to change this one. So if I click on this swatch, you'll see this is highlighted fallberry. If I double click that, grab all this, hold my shift key down and shrink it. Now I have at least 3. I have way more than 3. I've got like 10. I only need 3, but this is good, right? So to create my second square here, I'm going to open my pattern editor again, fallberry 1, and let's make another copy. And we'll call this one fallberry. So you see how many we're doing and why it's important to label things so we can keep all these straight, right? So now I'm going to fill this second square with fallberry 2 right here. And now I'm going to change the color. To change the color, you click it, you click on the color wheel, and you can either just change that or you go to advanced options and click on your color story and you can get your different colors, either one of your color stories. Or you can move your colors around manually, or you can just go into your pattern editor and click on the background color and change that to whatever you want. Just as long as these 2 patterns have to be the same scale and they have to be different colors. So let me show you with the in-class work how to make a half drop. Right? So I'm going to grab these 2. Whoops. I'll make these a little bigger. I need a third one here, so copy and paste this one. And we'll make that one bigger too. All right. And we need a background color here. We'll take one from our group. I'll bring this one, send it to the back. All right, so here are 3 patterns here. You can give that black background, okay. And then let's tighten up this background. Nothing says it has to be square either. So I'm going to grab all of these right here, and I'm going to say object pattern make. It says we've added a new pattern, this one, to your swatch panel. Great. We'll call this one like Fen Blue. And instead of being a grid, now we're going to go brick by column. That's the half drop. And we'll say done here. And I'll resize this one. And then I'll take some text here and I'll copy and paste that. This one should say half drop. And then I'm going to make another square here. And let's see if we can see our half drop pattern when I click on this fen blue. And it's too big, and I have a grid line. So I'm going to open up my pattern editor. We'll get rid of that grid line. We'll click on the background color and say no outline. Now I have this white grid line, so I'll say size tile to art. Hopefully that works. If it doesn't work, I can leave size tile to art, and I can just grab the background color and kind of edge it out a little bit. All right, done. Now my grid lines are gone, but it's still too big. I forgot to shrink it. So I'll grab everything and I will shrink it down, hit size tile to art, hit done. Way more than 3, right? So if I took this pattern and copied it and went to my project, paste. Of course, we're not going to use these copywritten symbols here on our project. I'm just, here's my pattern. I don't need to do anything. I just need to delete that, and then we'll fill in our square here. It's too big, so I'll double click it, make it even smaller. 1, 2, 3, right? And if you don't like how thick the lines are becoming, you can always select any individual object and say, you know what, let's make it 0.5 thickness. We can grab them all and say 0.5, 0.25 black line thickness, and then it looks okay. So now I need to fill this second square here. So I'm going to go to my pattern editor, and we'll hit save a copy, and we'll call this one Fen Blue 2, because we added it to the panel here. Fen Blue 2. And I need to make sure this square here is filled with my new Fen Blue 2 pattern. Once I have that, I go to my color wheel, just that, and that's all I need. Or I mean, choose it from your color story. So advanced options, click on the color story, different colors. Go in and change the background color. All I really need is the background color changed. If you can't remember anything, at least change the background color. And let me show you how to do, that's half drop. So when you look at it, you'll see this grouping, and then over to the right, it goes down halfway. It's dropping by half. Whereas with your block, everything just goes straight to the right. Now let me show you the hex pattern. So I'm going to grab 3 shapes. Okay, whatever. J.G. Wentworth. Okay. Oh crap! I stole it. Let me bring it back. Let's grab the L here. This one's so hard to grab. I'm going to copy this one. Willie Loman. Okay, so he has his own pattern. Copy this one here. All right. Come on. Where's my Fendi? I'm trying to move this in the back. Arrange, let's just send it to the back. Where's it going? Oh, you gotta highlight it. It wasn't highlighted, so I wasn't seeing the mark. It's over here. All right, so we'll take this and we'll move it down to underneath my letters here. All right, there we go. Now I need a background color. See, I wasn't using my layer panel. You see how much suffering I went through just now. So here's my layer panel. I'll just drag this down underneath my shapes. Make sure my layer panel doesn't have a black outline this time. Oh, you know what? We're not going to do a rectangle for this hexagon shape. Duh, this is a hexagon shape. So delete this one. I forgot. This last one's called hex. That means we're going to make a hexagon pattern. So to do that, you click and hold this rectangle button. There are other shapes, including a polygon tool. I'll click on that and I'll drag that out. And it's like all roly-poly. Hold the shift key down to get it lined up. And I'll put this over here and I'll go to my layer panel and I'll drag this layer down behind my letters. And let's hold my shift key when resizing. It's very important. All right, so there's my 3 elements in my hexagon pattern. So now I'm going to grab everything and we'll go Object, Pattern, Make. And it says we've added it to your swatch panel. You can see it right there. But I have this white diamonds here. I don't want that. So I'm going to change my layout from grid to hex by column. And that will make that disappear. And then you have the same issues with the size and the white spacing. We'll call this one hex 1. Okay, done here. So once I have that done, I'm going to take this source material and I'm going to shrink it. I'll take this word here and I'll copy and paste it over here. We'll call this one hex. And then, watch this, everybody. One point, if you don't do this right, I don't want a rectangle, I want a hexagon. Hold the shift key down to make it nice and straight. And I'm going to choose my new hexagon fill. And it's too big, so of course I'm going to double click it and we'll grab everything. And I'm going to hold the shift key down and shrink it. Hit size tile to art. Hit done. JG went, and then there's my hex pattern. I'm going to take this and I'll copy it. I mean, don't do this copywritten stuff. You're going to make your own patterns, but let me just show you again how we do that. So we hit paste here. Once you do that, there's your new pattern. So I can delete this. And then I can fill my pattern right here. It's too large still, so I'll open the pattern editor, hold my shift key down, make it even smaller. 1, 2, 3, there, I'm good. So I need a second one here, so I will open my pattern editor again and say save a copy. Call this one hex 2. It says we've added it to your swatch panel. There's hex 1, there's hex 2. All right, so now I'm going to go to the second square here. We'll hit X2, go to my color wheel, and then choose my color story and change it up. Hit OK. That's how you do your patterns, right? Let me fix my. I want you to give the pattern. I want you to name your patterns too. And again, this is what it looks like with an outline and no fill. Let's turn on the fill and remove the outline. And then you can right, so here's my pattern, little Star Wars reference. I know Star Wars is a disease. I have it. I hate it. The Star Wars jar at the dinner table, if I talk about how crappy the Last Jedi was, I have to put $5 in the jar. My kids have enough money for like 2 PlayStation 5s. All right, I'm gonna so let's pretend these are all different titles here. And let's pretend these are all unique patterns. I'm just saving time here. All right, so your color story will look something like that. I'm going to remove my guides here, clear my guides. All right, will look something like this when you're done. And you're just going to take your color story and your titles here. You're going to copy and paste them over here. And then again, over here. And you're welcome to use guides if you need them. You can also use like a grid, show your grid if you want to line things up. And then you can turn a snap to grid or snap if you want things to snap. But it's important to remember to turn this all off again. So, you know, hide the grid when you're done. Turn off snap to grid, because that'll just screw you up later if you leave that on. All right, so this is kind of what your project one will look like when you're done. I mean, with your color story. And then I really should actually do this. Every year I just use the same garment and I get like 3 students that are like, you drew 3 pages with the same dress. I'm like, yeah, that was an example because I didn't want to draw out everything for each class, although I should probably do it once. So let's pretend this is like your top, this is your bottom, and this is your one piece. Again, make sure your flats are not, make sure you don't have anything like up against the corner here, like this, you know, or touching this square or touching that square. Make sure your squares are not touching the bottom or the edges, right? And your finished project will look something like this. And then later in 2 weeks, your croquis will be done. And what we'll do is we'll take this combo, we'll take this PDF and we'll combine it with another PDF, and I'll show you how to do that next week. I already have a video available for you. And then once we have it combined, you're going to upload that and we'll do our critiques. You're going to upload it to 2 places. You're going to upload it to Blackboard and on Slack. Blackboard is for your points. Slack is for your presentation. And that's how you do that. So the first thing you got to save is your master copy. So I'm going to save my Illustrator file first. I'm just typing that so I can keep this one straight. Once you have your Illustrator file saved, and you can see it says AI with no asterisk, so that means it's been saved. Now we need to convert this to a PDF for Blackboard. So we save as, choose Adobe PDF. We're going to put it into our PDF folder. And then we'll hit save. And then there's 3 areas we need to adjust. You see how this preserve editing capabilities is turned on? That's great if you don't want to save your master file, but we are saving our master file, so we don't need that. So we're going to go over here to our preset. We're going to say smallest file size. That turns that off, which is good. Then we go to compression, make sure our image quality is on high. And then make sure our output is on no conversion, so that wherever it's being manufactured, we're all going to have the same consistent color. Then we'll save it as a PDF. Once you have that saved as a PDF, you upload this to your Project 1 area before midnight, and that is, if you go to your lab folder under course contents, here's your lab folder. You're going to go to Project 1, Projects, click there, and you'll upload, browse your computer, and you'll go look for your Fashion Tech folder and your PDFs, and you'll look for your project. And this is why you need to make sure the names are very descriptive, because you'll end up getting like the same file, and you could have it saved in 2 different places, and then you could choose the wrong file. Like let's say you saved it in your Fashion Tech folder out here and not your PDF folder. Then you go into the wrong folder, you could upload the wrong file. Please don't do that. All right, so that's project 1 done. What am I forgetting? So project 1. In class work, I did the block, half drop, and hex. I did the color stories. I did lots of stuff with image trace and live paint. You can experiment with this feature too with your own little pencil drawings. Bring it in, turn it into vector work. Then, once you have vector artwork, you can go to places like, there's a ton of places like Cafe Press where you can upload your own vector work, you can upload your own graphics work. And then if people buy your stuff, you get money. It's like a little side hustle, right? If you look at, so yeah, you can design your stuff. You can look at what some people have done, right? With very little Illustrator work. So with Illustrator, they made like, 2 black circles and another black circle here with another black circle, and there's like what, 5? It's like 5 black circles here, and a little pen line, and they're making money. People downloading this as a T-shirt, or you see like all these crazy T-shirts pop up with like little messages on there. There are people that are selling. You can, if you want to make your own. Look at this one. If you want to make your own like little message, there are people just taking text, just taking the text tool, and they're just typing in something like vote or something, and then you'll see like different kinds of people with very little skill involved, just using your text tool, and you can make all kinds of stuff. So with the skills that you have right now in Illustrator, with the pen tool, with live paint, live create, with your pen, knowing how to do vectors, you can go to any number of websites and start, Etsy or whatever, and start, making artwork and start making money. I just gave you a whole semester's worth of graphic design, I think in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Anyway, now you know.
I have a question.
All right, question.
Can you go over how to like put the pen tool on the croquis again so it can fill in?
How to color the croquis?
No, I know how to color them, but some parts like it's not fully closed.
Oh,
so
yeah. Like if there's a gap.
Yeah.
So like, yeah. So right here, like on her finger, if I were to grab my paint bucket tool and try to add a little bit of color right here, it changes the whole background. Oops. I didn't make you seasick here. So I'm gonna. Oops. Oh my God. Cancel. All right. So here's her finger again. So I'm gonna zoom up here. So I grabbed my pen tool. Make sure you're drawing with black ink and no fill. And if you're just sick of the pen tool, you don't have to use the pen tool. I mean, you can use your pencil tool. It's the same thing. Black ink, I'm gonna make it a little bit skinnier, and then you can like free draw that shape. So now, sometimes you get lucky and you can just add color until it works. And it's not working. So I need to merge my line. So to merge it, you grab your selection tool and you grab everything all over again, including the line you just drew. And you just do the whole thing over again. Object, live, paint, make. And now, if I go in there, it's already been it filled itself. Look at that. So once that filled, this color kind of spilled out in there automatically. Which is nice. Thank you, Illustrator. I'll give a little bit darker color on the underside of her hand. Hope that answers your question.
It does.
So get to work on your in-class work, and I will sit here and answer any questions you have on anything. What's the fastest animal in the world? The cheetah. How long is my parking pass good for? Depends which one you have, but 6 months maybe. Should I propose? I don't know. Ask your parents. Anyway. Get to work. Figure out what you can do, what you can't do. Try your patterns here. Try your hex and your half drop. Your pattern resizing, your pattern recoloring. Okay. And I will answer any questions. What's up, Kat?
I have a question.
Kat. Sure.
So when I'm just doing, like for my project, just the regular fill, some of my lines disappear even if I move the fill like below the layers, if that makes sense.
Okay. So yeah, it totally makes sense. I'll show you what's happening. Let me open up old flats one, if I have one. All right, I don't, but let me show you. I'll just add a new artboard here. All right, so like let's say you had a tank top. Best tank top ever. Oh my God. I should just go get my other tank top. All right, so let's say you have something like this.
Wait, can you share your screen?
Oh my God, I'm not showing my screen. Believe me, it's nothing to look at. I drew the crappiest tank top on the planet. Share my screen. All right. Not symmetrical, and you know. So what happens is, let's pretend. Let's pretend you had like a neck stitch here. All right, so I really should have. Oh wait, that's not there. Let's put it right here. All right, so let's pretend this was a stitch. We'll do rounded cap. We'll go half point. We'll dash line, 2-point dash. All right, so you have a stitch line here, and what's going on is more than likely, and I'll do a white fill here. More than likely, you have a fill on like a stitch line. See the stitch line here? It has a fill. Like if I give it a different color, you can see it. And that's why, like, sometimes when you start moving lines around, lines start vanishing. So here's a white fill, and you might start seeing something like that happening. So you want to open up your layer panel and make sure your outline layer is on the bottom of all your details, and then make sure your details don't have fills. And then that's having some weird line here with a fill is the only reason why other lines start vanishing. So you just take the fill off, and then then your lines reappear. If you want, you can stay after class and I can look at your document and try to help you figure out which lines are giving you the problem. But that's usually, is that kind of like what it looks like is happening? Like lines disappearing like that?
I think so, because when I go to fill everything, like each individual layer has a
Yeah, so if you had everything grouped together, like watch this, object group, if I try to give this one line of fill, you know, it'll fill like everything. If I turn one line into a stitch, then because it's grouped, everything turns into a stitch. So
Yeah, gotcha.
you got to ungroup it, or that's why I did that whole layer isolation. So like, if let's say it all is grouped, I could just isolate this one layer, triple click it, and then you'll see there, I'm in the group, and then this path is called if I were to call this one stitch, you'll see I have isolated that layer, and then I can just turn that layer fill off. Or you can isolate this one layer, and you could turn it not into a stitch, or whatever. So layer isolation, if you don't want to ungroup it, if you have flats that are overlapping each other and you don't want it to fly apart or become part of another group, you just isolate the layer. Make sure there are no fills on it.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Oh, let me talk about WGSN some more before I forget. So we were on WGSN. Wait, did I talk to you about going to WGSN and grabbing details for tracing? I did that last week, right? Showing you where the CAD library was. And yeah, I did that last week. And then, we went to the women's wear. And then down here, embellishments and trim, because like some students are like, how do I draw zippers? How do I draw fringe? Or how do I draw like a bow or something? Or my garment has a bow and the bow looks crappy. You can just go to WGSN, you can find a professionally drawn bow or fringe or tassel or some zipper or something. And then you can take the image and you can copy it, and then you can bring it into Illustrator. And then just like we did everything, you can take your picture and reduce the opacity. And then you can lock the image down and then go in there with your pen tool and start tracing. Actually, I could probably just go behind that shape here. And once you have this all traced out, you can take your shape and paste it onto your flat and cover up any, just because the photograph has a lumpy bow doesn't mean you have to have a lumpy bow, right? That's it. And that'll get you to project 1, which is due tonight before midnight. So if you wanted to go and do your homework first, then you could just grab these patterns. You'll have at least 3 patterns ready for your project 1. But you don't have to. You can just go to project 1 and make your own patterns. Just what I don't want to see is just you. I don't want to see. I don't want to see you doing this, like taking a square and then taking a circle and then going, you know what? I'm done. And then going like this and then going object pattern make. And I have a grid line here. Let's turn that outline off. We'll say size tile to art. Done. Yeah, I did that. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see that. I mean, technically it's a pattern, but do work a little bit harder than that. Challenge yourself. Go into your closet, find a pattern, copy it, see if you can recreate it. That's what I was doing with this LV pattern. I was like, how complicated is this pattern? It doesn't look very complicated. Complicated part is the repeat. Object pattern make. Hello. This is white space. I found art. I seem to have some white space that won't go away. What artwork is causing this? Oh, it's the bottom LV. So here's my knockoff. Lovely. Yep, I would definitely pay top dollar for this. No one's gonna know. It's not real. Who's gonna know? No one's gonna know. So whoever asked me that last question, look what I did here. So I grabbed this whole flat, and this whole flat was already grouped. And when I added my fill to it, see, it added fill colors to my stitch lines, my little fold lines here. My stitch line has a pattern. And you don't always see that. See, if you grab the whole thing and say, okay, let's put the LV pattern in. Oh, still didn't work. LV. I must have locked it. These have, and you can see it now, these have like different fills. Say no fill. Anyway, ooh, it looks awful. What happened? So all my pattern's too big. Several problems happening here. This group right here shouldn't have any. Oh no. All right, let's get that out of the way. I'm gonna have to ungroup this. And then say no fill. And then I'll put this back. These are actually too dark, I can't see it. So maybe I'll change the stroke, my stroke color to like some bright color. I mean, not yellow, maybe like a light gray. Counterfeiter. Oh no. These bootlegs. I don't know why people bootleg so much. It's just, you know how to use Illustrator, you do whatever. I didn't say that. Rewind, delete. But yeah. Did I forget anything? What am I forgetting? Project. I started doing project 2. Yeah, we're good. All right, keep working. Maya Shaw, are you here? No. What class is she in?